The Road to War. Written and narrated by John Miro. Get more at servingworlds.com. "27. The Taker studies are simply fascinating. Mantel's feet lost their rhythm as if she were having trouble talking and walking at the same time. She picked right back up, though, and her words grew passionate. The sensor data from the last convoy reveals an incredibly simple and incredibly evolved life form all at once. That's enough. Willard turned and physically blocked Dr. Mantel from continuing forward, unwilling to listen to her praise the creatures giving his entire species nightmares. He was exhausted from dealing with this brilliant, arrogant nut job, and the last pressure door in the spoke was close enough to literally read the writing on the wall. "We asked you what was happening behind that door. First you say, the crew's all dead. Then you say someone up here wants you dead." "Talk," Bowen grunted, his thumbs tucked under the black webbing of his combat rifle's shoulder harness, "or we toss you through that door alone and head back to our tender." Willard matched Bowen's scowl, but inside he hoped Mantel wouldn't dig her heels in. He didn't want to have to talk Bowen down, but if this was the brain behind interface implants and functional grav drives, she really was their secret weapon against the Takers. No way he could cut the crazy bitch loose and walk away. Mantel did her hair-touching routine, then folded her arms across her chest. "What if, flying your tender back to your base ship, you experienced a psychotic break and decided to ram it instead of docking with the ship? You could do that easily. Thanks to me, humans can now navigate via implant faster than traffic control computers could lock you out. How many would die? Hundreds? Thousands? That's why Fleet wants an override." Willard grimaced. "The whole ship could go up if I targeted Cloak's reactor." "The prevailing theory is that the Takers hopped to Earth colony by colony. Who knows if the Takers left anyone alive on Drayton, Ostrov, or any other settlement, or on Earth for that matter?" Mantel shrugged. "The last convoy didn't just send back data on the Takers. They gave us our chance to stop the Takers before they get to Reach. If we kill ourselves before we get to the intercept point, we could be killing the human race. So we built an override. Skin and instinct still beat silicon in combat, so you built an interface that lets us fight as fast as we can think." Bowen shook his head. "Now you want to build an override to slow us down, just in case some of us don't think how Fleet thinks. How Earthers think, I mean." Mantel said nothing, but smiled smugly. Bowen grew visibly furious. This wasn't happening, Willard told himself. The 10-member Fleet Council was comprised of 3 Earthers, 3 Draytons, 3 Reachers, and 1 Ostrovian, Fleet Admiral Daku. There was no way this was happening. Willard closed his eyes. "Deal with this later. First, find the crew and get off this ship. Just tell us what we're walking into." Mantel chewed her lip. The smug look bled into petulance. "You'll be happy to know Fleet Council killed the Override Project." The air in the spoke was cooling as they approached the outer wheel. Willard told himself that was the reason for his goosebumps. "But?" he asked. Petulance flipped back to smug on the doctor's face. "I never let a project go once I start. I don't take orders. I make miracles." "You built it anyway," Willard snarled. "Guilty," Mantel chirped. "Almost done, too. Nothing so primitive as brainwashing or threat chain obedience either. What I built could actually change people's minds." The incorrigible grin faded, for a few hours at least. Then stubborn brains rewired themselves back to normal. "Go brains," Bowen said. Willard snapped his fingers in Mantel's face. She turned, surprised and silenced. "What's behind door number 3, Doctor?" Her head cocked to the side, bird-like again. "One of the override test subjects, of course." Willard triggered the door and backed up as it hissed and trundled up from the deck. He knelt across from Bowen, raising his assault rifle. Mantell leaned one corner against the wall, a resigned expression on her face. The far wall was 30 to 40 meters distant. No windows, lighting tracks along the floor and walls. 2 light rail tracks were embedded in the floor, one close to the spoke pressure door and the other close to the far wall. 4 large cargo pods, identical to the one suspended from the ceiling in Mantell's lair, were set up in the cavernous space. 2 of the pods disappeared around either curve of the wheel, and 2 were secured near the mouth of spoke 3, just a few dozen meters apart. Cargo crates and electric carts were situated in front of each. Perhaps 20 meters lay between the mouth of the spoke and the pods. The wheel was silent and empty. White print sprayed on the side of the left pod read, "The Fridge." The print on the right pod read, "Rec Room." Willard nodded towards the right pod. Bowen climbed fluidly to his feet, weapon against his shoulder, and walked close to the mouth of the spoke. He scanned the area twice, barrel of his weapon chained to his gaze. Clear. Willard duplicated Bowen's moves, scanning the opposite side of the wheel. His line of sight also clear. He moved out into the wheel proper. Bowen followed, back turned and weapon raised in the opposite direction. "You're going to get me killed," Mantell hissed, clutching Willard's shoulder. "Back up!" Willard nudged her hard with his elbow. She stumbled back, rubbing at her chest, her face blank with shock. Clearly, Karina Mantell wasn't used to being handled roughly, but she stayed clear of Willard's personal space after that. The pressure door hissed back to the ground automatically as Willard and Bowen crossed quickly to their chosen pod. Mantell half-jogged, half-tiptoed past them, her head swinging side to side, nervous eyes wide. She held her hand against a display mounted to the right of a crewman-sized pressure door. Blood smeared the display, and the swing arm locking the pressure door in place. Willard heard a click, saw a green light flash on the panel a moment before he levered the door's handle down. It swung open. Bowen disappeared inside, Mantell following on his heels. Willard scanned the wheel one last time and followed them in, dragging the door shut behind him. Mantell locked the door as soon as it shut. Willard looked at her, then peered through the square window in the door. Still nothing moved. He turned and scanned the pod. A hall led into the main floor to the right, and a short flight of stairs up to the left led to the second floor. Bowen waved for Willard's attention and pointed. Bloody fingerprints smeared the wall beside the stairs. "Hello?" Willard waited. No reply. "This is Lieutenant Willard Sue off the Peter Cloak. The Ryson has been damaged and is drifting. We're here to get you all out." "Hello? Is anyone there?" A thump from upstairs. "We're here." Unsteady footsteps beating their way. Willard and Bowen raised their rifles. A pale white kid with wireframe glasses, maybe 17 or 18, skidded into view at the top of the stairs. When he saw the guns, he fell to his knees. He wore a slim vacuum suit, the upper body tied around his waist, and blood coated his right shoulder. "Don't shoot! Janine's not here, it's just—" Terror turned to hate on his face when he caught sight of Dr. Karina Mantell. "You!" Bowen bounded up the stairs, his rifle slung and a first aid pack already in his hands. Willard lowered his barrel to point at the ground and raised his eyebrows. "Friend of yours?" "Hardly," Mantell huffed. "Meet Scott Kincaid, the least important and least remarkable of my babysitters." Bowen was already tearing the seam of Kincaid's collar, examining the source of the bleeding. He whistled. "What happened, kid? Get gored by a bull?" A short, tubby guy and a tall, red-haired woman crept into sight further down the upstairs hall. They were holding on to each other and trembling. When their eyes tracked to Mantell, Willard read disgust on both their faces. "More friends of yours, Doc?" "Where is she?" Mantell asked them, urgently. "Where's Janine?" "Hunting Stewart and Rick last we saw," Scott Kincaid spat at her. Bowen sprayed the wound in the kid's shoulder. The kid screamed and sagged. Bowen's forearm kept him from falling down the stairs. Willard had had enough. He yanked Mantell's arm and swung her around. She yelped and fell, hind end landing hard on the bottom step of the stairs. "You," Willard pointed at the tubby guy. "Janine's an override, yeah?" The man just blinked. The red-headed woman nodded, lips trembling. I'm gonna bet Janine's a reacher, too, Bowen said, unrolling a bandage over a wide, jagged wound in Kincaid's shoulder. The kid nodded, face pinched with pain. Yeah, this all happened? But Janine wouldn't let Dr. Mantell switch her off. You have been listening to Reach, The Road to War. Written and narrated by John Miro. Music, All This by Kevin MacLeod at Incompetech.com. Hear more of the story at servingworlds.com. Thank you for listening.